Good evening, everybody. We are back with Meet the Candidates. Let's chat with Camila T. I am your host, Camila Turner, and my guest tonight is Attorney Van Turner. We are not related, although we have always said we are play cousins. You know, we like to have play cousins. So people always ask us, are we related? But we've known each other a very long time. So we say that we're play cousins. But Van Turner is running for the mayor of Memphis in the upcoming election. Welcome, Van.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here with you.
Yes, good to have you. So tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, where you grew up, and what you do now.
So I grew up in Whitehaven. After I graduated from Whitehaven High School, I attended Morehouse College. From Morehouse College, I taught English in Japan for 2 years. I was an English major in college. After Japan, I came back to the States and attended the University of Tennessee College of Law. When I graduated there in '02, I moved back home and I started practicing law. And so that's a little bit of background. I know you, Mila, from our background with NACP. I'm sure we'll discuss that shortly, but
Yes, but I did not know that you taught English in Japan. So I have to know, do you speak Japanese?
Chotodaki.
That means a little bit.
Yeah. I haven't really been in it since '97 through '99. So it's been a while, and you have to kind of keep up with it to be proficient. I can understand a lot more than I can speak right now, but it was a unique experience. I enjoyed it. My uncle was in the Navy and he married a Japanese lady and they moved back to Whitehaven. So growing up, that's what piqued my interest into the Japanese culture. And so when I had the opportunity to go over and teach English, I jumped at it.
Wow, that's something that I never knew. And I like Japanese food, and also I love kimonos.
Yeah.
So I have quite a few Japanese kimonos, and anytime I know somebody that's going to Japan, I said, please bring me back a kimono, an authentic Japanese kimono. But that's something very interesting. Um, Tell us why you decided to run for mayor of the city of Memphis.
Well, our city is at a point now where we can become the great city that we all know we can be, and we've been saying that for years, or we can really take a bad turn and end up with a city that we're not proud of. We're trying to leave, and we will be encouraging our kids to not come back to. So I think we're really at the crossroads. Given my track record of getting the tough jobs done, my service to the community already as a commissioner, head of the NACP, president of Memphis Green Space, I feel that I have the skill set, the experience, the knowledge, and the relationship to the community to be in a place where I can lead Memphis forward. I think it's going to take someone with experience, but also a vision for the future. And so that's why I'm offering myself to be the next mayor.
So, why did you decide to come back to Memphis and make Memphis your permanent home? Because, of course, you're from Memphis, but as we know, a lot of people that we grew up with, going to high school with, and grew up just knowing in the city of Memphis that went to college. A lot of those people never came back to the city for various reasons. And you talked about, of course, you went to college in Atlanta, which is a great city. You went all the way to Japan for 2 years. Why did you come back to the city of Memphis?
Well, I love my city. I have family here. My wife and I grew up together. We met when we were 14 at Havenview Junior High School. And so there were many reasons to come back home. And I just felt, honestly, I tell you, Camila, In 2002, I had the option of going to Nashville. I was looking at DC. I was looking at Atlanta. And the thing that I said to myself in 2002 was that Harold Ford Jr. was congressman, A.C. Warren was the county mayor, and Willie Harrington was the city mayor. And I said to myself, why run to Atlanta and try to reestablish myself to fight against all those people who were in Atlanta? Why not go home and make Memphis the next Atlanta? And we have all this great Black leadership in place. We can make Memphis what Atlanta is, and I'll be on the ground floor of that opportunity. So honestly, I moved back home with that in mind. I had family here, and I thought that, the next 10 years, Memphis would rival Atlanta or maybe even surpass Atlanta. And so that's why I really moved home. I wanted Memphis to be all that these other great cities were, which had Black leadership, Black young professionals, and you saw that they were really making it happen. And I said, let's go back home. Let's go to Memphis and make it happen like it's happening in Chicago, DC, in Atlanta and other places.
So let's circle back a little bit. You were the president of the Memphis branch NAACP, and we initially met in the NAACP Youth Council many, many years ago. I know I was probably in middle school, not even in high school yet when I started with the Youth Council, and you stayed with the NAACP and became president of the Memphis branch. Sometimes people say, what is the NAACP doing? Why do we need the NAACP now? And, it used to bother me, but I really feel like some people aren't really educated, and that's why they ask the questions. Because if you know about the NAACP, then you won't ask, what is the NAACP doing? So why did you decide to stay in the NAACP and become president of the Memphis branch?
Well, when you look around and you see the Anti-Defamation League, which fights on behalf of the Jewish community, you see other advocacy groups for the Latino community, for the Asian community, it stands to reason that when you really look at this country and the history of this nation, had it not been for the NAACP and African American leadership, Black women, Black men standing up for equity and justice and righteousness, we would not have what we have now. And we created opportunities for every other minority group that's come behind us. And so that's why I got back involved with NAACP when I came home. People always say, what has NAACP done? What is it doing? And you don't realize how important the NAACP is until you need it, until you've been discriminated at your workplace, until something racist has happened to your child or to you. Then you call on NAACP and you say, hey, I can't believe this. I can't believe these people are still like this, or these things are still happening after all this time. And then you realize there's an important place for the NAACP, and you realize the relevancy of the NAACP. If you look now, what's going on in our nation with the Supreme Court, eliminating Roe v. Wade, eliminating affirmative action, eliminating minority contracting, now more than ever in this post-Trump America, we need the NAACP. We need it now more than ever, because if we don't all join the efforts of the NAACP and other similar groups, they will turn the clock back. And we cannot afford for that to happen. We fought too hard. We fought too long for us to be sitting on the back of the bus and to be second-class citizens. And it would just be a shame for us to repeat history. And you see the elimination of critical race theory. They don't even want to know about our struggles and our history. This is absolutely crazy. And so we need to step up. I encourage your listeners and your viewers to join the NAACP. We need the NAACP now more than ever. And I think that's why I always held on to the NAACP so tight, because in my heart of hearts, I knew that there would be struggles in our future. There would be things that we had to accomplish in our future. And we as young professionals had to stick close and support the NACP because the NACP is our group. It fights for us. And so we need this organization to be strong and to remain strong.
Well, I definitely agree with all of that. And, it really is frightening how there is a push to eliminate teaching American history and really world history as it relates to African Americans in this country. Of course, we know my mother is a historian, so I've always known the history of the civil rights movement, the history of Black people in this country, African history, even. And I believe that matter of fact, I'm sure that that's part of the reason why I have the confidence that I have in myself, because I know my history and I know where I come from.
Right.
So I think that we all need to come together to make sure that history is still being taught in the way that it should be. So I want to talk a little bit about your platform and some of the points. One thing is strengthen infrastructure. So anytime I'm in another city, anywhere in the world, I like public transportation because often it is more efficient. When I'm in a city with a subway system, here in the US, of course, New York or DC or any city with a rail system, or even the buses and international cities, rail, bus, but that is something that we lack in the city of Memphis. And I know that's one of your points. And why is that important to you?
We really have to prepare Memphis to be a city of the future. We cannot be a top city in this country, and we are a top city in this country. We're like the 24th or 25th largest city in America. And we are the largest metropolitan city with a majority Black population. So essentially, we are the largest Black city with the largest Black population. And so we have to make sure that our children and grandchildren have a city that's viable, energetic, and it's the city of the future. So that's why when I talk infrastructure, Camila, I talk light rail. And I say light rail because we have to have a big, bold vision. Just like you, when I go to Atlanta, I have no issues getting on MARTA. I have no issues riding the metro in DC. And so Memphis needs a light rail system. We need better public transportation, and we need the infrastructure to support the future of this city, which means better public transportation. And I see that in the form of light rail that could take us from here to Blue Oval, and from Blue Oval all the way to Jackson, Tennessee, and then on to Nashville. We also must look at our aging infrastructure as it relates to our power supply and what's going on with our utilities. Many people are frustrated because whenever it rains or we have a storm, the lights go out, food spoils. It's just a horrible time. No AC and it's 100 degrees outside. Dangerous. So we have to make sure that we're burying our power lines and we're insulating our power lines and our pipes. I say that because if you were like me, you had no water this past Christmas because the pipes froze and we had a boil water alert. That's because our pipes are too high. We need to bury our pipes deeper, and we need to insulate those pipes a lot better because we are having global warming as an issue. These big freezes are coming through, and we're seeing extreme temperatures that we hadn't experienced in our history. We need to cut back the brush so they don't fall on our power lines, and we need to take the rotted wood that supports our power lines and make those metal poles. All that has to be overhauled. And in my plan, I start with the most challenged community first. My campaign is about people, and it's about communities, and it's about those communities which have been disinvested. I'm not going to run out to East Memphis to start with their infrastructure first. I want to go to Boxtown. I want to go to Orange Mound. I want to go to Fraser, to those communities which have been left out and marginalized. And that's where we start rebuilding our infrastructure.
Thank you. Another one of your points is bring jobs to Memphis. We all know that we have a large amount of people in our city who do not make a living wage, and a large number of people in our city who are not working at all. So, what is your plan to bring quality jobs to this city?
I'll model that as the mayor. And what that means is when I was a commissioner back in 2014, we fought for a living wage. We had issues until Mayor Lee Harris took that office in 2018, and we passed a living wage for all county employees. And at that time, it was $15 an hour. Now that's not a living wage. We need to add more to what our city employees are making. The Tennessee minimum wage is $7.50, I believe, which is way too low. You can't live off $7.50. I don't care who you are. You can't live off of twice that amount, which is $15 an hour. So we have to pay a living wage to our employees. And as a city, I would hope that through that example, the private sector would pick up and start doing the same thing. We have to make sure that we're not forcing our parents to work 2 and 3 jobs. And when they do that, we point the finger at them saying they're bad parents, and that's why crime is so bad and their kids are so wayward. If these parents are trying to fight to put food on the table, then no, they don't have the time to spend at home to look after their kids, to assist with homework, and to do all those other things that we would want them to do and they would want to do. So poverty is the issue in this city. If we don't tackle poverty, we won't be able to tackle anything else. So I want to focus on that. I want to meet that challenge head on. That means that we pay a living wage again at the city, and we model that for the private sector to do likewise. We have to pay our citizens in this city a living wage. We have to make sure that we are not paying wages which will keep our citizens in poverty. Poverty does violence to the community. Most of these crimes, if you look at them, start out as economic crimes and they become more and more violent. So let's address the root cause of crime, which is poverty. We need to pay a real living wage. We need to model that for the private sector to do so. And I think we'll start seeing the change that we want to see here in Memphis.
Thank you. Now, your other point is something that most people in Memphis are concerned about: safety. And you say you want to make Memphis safe, and you have some different ways to do that. One of them, youth programs, police reform, crisis management. Talk to us some more about safety.
Well, I know you as an esteemed criminal defense attorney see it day in and day out,
Absolutely.
and you know better than some, our young people don't wake up wanting to do what they are doing. It's an environment, their lack of options, their mental health concerns. And so there's so much to address when we look at safety other than locking our way up to a safer community. That won't work. We've tried it and tried it and tried it again, and the crime has only gotten worse. We have to work on prevention and intervention. We have to solidify and strengthen our universal pre-K programs, because learning begins with these young people into K through 12 education. When they're in K through 12 education, we have to focus in on the 3rd grade to make sure that our young people are on grade for reading, because we know that that's where the first issues occur. And then when they are in middle school and in high school, we have to focus on intervention. The Boys and Girls Club, MAMS, street ministries, all of these mentoring groups, clergy. We have to triage and beat what's going on in the streets. We have to provide that viable option for our young people. We have to make sure that what we are giving them are solutions, hope, care, love, all the things that they feel that they're getting from the streets, we have to give that to them in these mentoring programs. And we have to do that at that crucial time period when they're in middle school and as they're going into high school. And so that's my plan, public safety commissioner, that looks at more empathy, resting our way to a safer Memphis. We need to address crime in a comprehensive fashion. That's what the public safety commissioner would do. We have to go get the federal funds. We have to make sure that our strategy is comprehensive. We could lock up all the bad people now, and 6 months from now, what's stopping a whole new crop of young people taking the place of those that we just locked up? We have to disrupt the school to prison pipeline, and that's what my focus will be on. 24-hour community centers, so that our young people have places to go, safe havens, wraparound services, food if they need food. And I think you beat this issue, you tackle this issue with directing resources, allocating resources, and leaning in to what the root causes are for crime. I think once we do that, we'll see the issue. We've disinvested as a community. The city doesn't fund schools. We marginalize and rend off our communities and neighborhoods where Black and brown people live. And then we want to point the finger and say how bad things are. We created this. And so we have to undo what's happened. We have to reverse what we've done in the past. And that's what I intend to do as the next mayor.
Well, I certainly agree with all of that, especially the mentoring. Of course, we know I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I represent a lot of young people, a lot of young males, and most of them do not have a positive male in their life. And I know that there are a lot of groups and organizations in this city, a lot of course, churches, fraternities. I know you're a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity incorporated, and all these other groups. And I've always said the city and government should be working to connect all of these organizations with children who need mentorship. Because I feel like that they would be open to it. You know, churches would be open to it. I know you're a member of Metropolitan, but there's a church everywhere in
Right.
Memphis. There are all these organizations in Memphis, and we are at a crisis level when it comes to our young people in this community. But I think that there is definitely hope. So we have city government and county government, a dual government system. And, you know, what are your thoughts? People are over the years have had the conversation of, do we need a city government and a county government? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in the past, when we've had the consolidation efforts, it's always been an issue where Memphis was giving up so much in order to make this happen, and we were begging the county to take Memphis in. And I never felt that that was the correct approach. Memphis is Shelby County. Sure, we got the 6 other cities, but the county doesn't survive without Memphis. We are the heartbeat of Shelby County. In fact, we're the heartbeat of West Tennessee and the Mid-South. And so, in my mind, if we are going to have a true consolidation of governments and a true metropolitan, Memphis has to be front and center. We have to maintain Black leadership. We have to maintain the sense that Memphis won't be wiped out and wiped away with the consolidated government in a metropolitan form of government. And that's been the issue in the past. They said it was the schools the first time, the last time the effort failed, because essentially the county would swallow the city and the city will almost be non-existent. And so I would be in favor of a metropolitan form of government potentially if Memphis led the way and if Memphis maintained its stature, its culture, its history, and I think what we've seen in the past has not been representative of a fair consolidation. But we have to have an efficient government. I don't argue with that. We do case services. But again, I'm not a fan of consolidating Memphis away to the county. It has to be a true marriage, a true metropolitan form of government. And once that's on the table, I think you will see people gravitate to such a plan and support such a plan. And we just haven't seen that in the past.
Well, thank you. Also, since you've been running, of course, there have been many debates, and I've noticed that you have shown up to all of the debates that I have seen, and some candidates have not shown up to really any, some to a few. But why has that been important to you? I know you have many things to do. I know you have a family. I know you are a lawyer with a law practice. Why has that been something that has been important to you during this campaign?
I mean, the people want to hear from you, and they want to see if you have vision, and support. It's not enough to rest on the fact you've been elected before and you have a popular name. You know, this is a new era. The Bible talks about, and for every season, there's a change. And where things may have been effective in the 90s or the early 2000s, we are 10, 20 years removed from that era. And people want to know what's your vision for 2023 going forward. New generation, new problems. They're going to need new solutions, new energy. And so that's why it's important to come and meet the people where they are. I've been elected to office twice. I've been head of the NACP and all these other organizations, Green Space, but I still have to ask for the citizens' vote, humble myself, hear the citizens out, answer their questions, and respectfully ask for their endorsement and support. And I think that you have to do that at this particular point in time in our city where we have so many issues. You have to speak directly to the people. And I can tell you, Camila, we're all essentially saying the same thing. I mean, you meet the candidates, you're going to hear from all of us. I think the determining factor is, have you been able to do it before? And when the opposition comes, will you have the fortitude to withstand that opposition and still do the right thing? If you look at my track record in history, I've been in the middle of controversial issues, controversial problems, and I've held steadfast to my principles. I've held steadfast to what Memphians want and deserve. And I've been able to accomplish a lot of tough things here in Memphis. And so it's not enough to say it. I think Memphians want to know, have you been able to do it? And will you do it again, even though there will be opposition? I think I can answer that question with a resounding yes. So that's why I feel that I'm in the best position to be mayor right now. And I'm hoping for everyone's vote and support. You can go to banformemphis.com to learn more about my campaign and my vision for Memphis. And I thank you for this opportunity. This has been great.
Thank you.
Together, so I appreciate this opportunity to be here with you in this capacity.
Well, I thank you so much. Early voting starts September the 15th. Election day is October the 5th. Van Turner is running for mayor of the city of Memphis. So everybody in the city of Memphis will have an opportunity to vote for mayor. Thank you again. I know we had some technical difficulties in the beginning, but we got it together. Thank you for listening. And again, thank you, Van, for being here, and good night.
Good night. Thank you.